Checking this week in history, it was on this date, June 12th, 1994, that O.J. Simpson's ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ron Goldman, a son, a brother, brutally murdered outside of her California home.
Day one, Monday, the bodies of 35-year-old Nicole Brown Simpson and 25-year-old Ronald Goldman are found outside Nicole Simpson's Los Angeles condominium.
In communication with the vehicle, and that is a distinct possibility of getting off at Sunset en route to the Brentwood location, and possibly that could be a termination point.
It does look like he's going past the 10 turnoff, doesn't it?
Yes, currently at the interchange at this time.
Really, the country stopped during that. HLN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson is with me to discuss. We were speaking earlier. You were only an attorney for a month, right, when the verdict came down, Joey?
Yeah, I really was, Susan. Good morning to you. What an incredible time. What a revolutionary experience, right? You certainly can't say that for the families here who lost someone. A tragedy for them, to be sure. Victims who died and, you know, in their view, no accountability, and a lot of people's view, no accountability. But this changed so much. I could recall at the time of its occurrence, I was in law school. At the time of the verdict, I was actually a first-year prosecutor in Manhattan. And, you know, it was one of those things where people were riveted every day. This is reality TV, right? For some entertainment, for others who were more closely involved, like, again, the families, just such a tragedy and such a terrible experience. You had a jury sequestered for months. You had attorneys who were at the top of their game who became rock stars. You had commentators who were commentating about these issues who in themselves, in their own right, became famous as a result of that. And of course, you had the prosecutors doing their job and becoming celebrities as well. So this changed so much, Susan. It changed how we cover courtroom dramas. It changed the nature of how lawyers lawyer. It changed the nature of how we consume television. And I think it just in so many ways influenced popular culture then and moving forward.
And everyone was able to kind of critique the attorneys and say that the DNA evidence was going on too long, that you lost the jurors. Do you think that trials today, there were lessons learned from that, meaning the sequestering of the jury for close to a year and how much they are willing to take? They had movie night, but they were really cut off from friends and family members. And I think that was too long, and that may have played a role in this verdict.
Without question. And, you know, Susan, as we were talking, you saw the issue with the gloves, and that was a big deal, right? The mantras, if it doesn't fit, right, the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. You had Johnny Cochran doing his thing in front of the jury. And so, yes, of course, it's so problematic for the short term to sequester a jury. We ask a lot of our jurors. Remember, there needs to be 12 that reach a unanimous decision. That means all 12 have to be in accord with regard to not guilty or guilty, right? If you don't get there, you get to a hung jury. They're away from their families. They're away from their loved ones. They're away from their friends. And they're simply focused on this case. And so it was unfolding before everyone's eyes, televised, everyone really riveting. But I think we have to be careful in sequestering a jury so long. And that we saw with the quick verdict here thereafter on October 3rd of 1995 with the rendering of not guilty, which to many was certainly an outrage.
I've gotten close to Kim Goldman, the sister of Ron Goldman, her podcast, Confronting O.J. Simpson. She talks about how many people just said Nicole Brown Simpson and friend. It was kind of a side note there. And she was talking about the theatrics, that she was able to speak to one of the jurors. But Judge Ito, they also had parodies, I think, on Jay Leno's show of Dancing Judge Ito's. It was kind of lost in all of this. The victims were. You really just saw O.J. and all the players, so to speak, even Kato Kalin, the house guest living in the guest house. I mean, everyone becoming pseudo-celebrities.
It's such a great point, Susan, right? Because at the end of the day, any trial is about the victims. It's about getting justice for the victims or the lack thereof. Many people believing there was no justice gotten here, others believing that this is the system at play. But you had the quintessential dream team that put the system on trial, the injustices on trial, racism on trial, and they did it so effectively they were able, of course, to get their acquittal. But, you know, look, these trials are difficult under normal circumstances, having cameras beamed in for the world to see. see makes it even more difficult. But I just think it changed the course of history, changed so much with respect to how we view, evaluate, and consume trials. But what a riveting, dynamic experience for all. And I think that that's what we see today in our coverage of trials and courtroom dramas.
Yeah, we all remember where we were when the verdict came down. Joey Jackson, thank you.
Always. Thanks.